he would be a no-show and Andreas would have to take over in the kitchen, leaving me to host the bar and restaurant, which might be full but without any waiters, or half empty with too many of them. Somehow a happy compromise never seemed to materialize. There was always a faint possibility that a supplier might actually arrive on time, but it would never be with the goods that we had actually ordered. If anything broke, and everything did, we would have hours of nervous tension waiting to see if the mechanic or engineer would show up. For the most part, our guests seemed happy. But we were running around like actors in one of those madcap French farces, trying to make it look seamless, and by the time I collapsed in bed, often at 1 or 2 in the morning, I was so exhausted that I lay there feeling almost desiccated, like a mummy in a shroud. That was when I would be at my lowest, falling asleep with the knowledge that the moment I opened my eyes, the whole thing would start all over again. I'm being too negative. Of course, it was wonderful too. The Aegean sunset is like nothing you will see anywhere in the world, and I would watch it every evening, staring in wonder. No wonder the Greeks believed in gods. Helios in his golden chariot blazing across that enormous sky. The Lassitiotica mountains transformed into strips of the thinnest gauze, first pink, then mauve, darkening and fading at the same time. I swam at 7 o'clock every morning, washing away in the crystal sea the traces of too much wine and cigarette smoke. There were dinners in tiny tavernas in Forny and Limnes, with the smell of jasmine, the stars twinkling, raucous laughter, the clink of raki glasses. I'd even started to learn Greek, working 3 hours a week with a girl young enough to be my daughter, who managed to take the stressed syllables and verbs that weren't just irregular but downright indecent, and somehow make them fun. But this wasn't a holiday for me. I'd come to Greece after the catastrophe that was Magpie Murders. It was the last book I'd worked on, and it had led to the death of the author, the collapsing of my publishing company, and the end of my career, in that order. There had been 9 Atticus Pund novels, all of them bestsellers, and I had thought there would be many more. But that was all over now. Instead, I found myself starting a new life, and frankly, too much of it was hard work. Inevitably, this had had an effect on my relationship with Andreas. The two of us didn't quarrel, we weren't the quarrelling sort, but we'd developed a way of communicating that had become increasingly terse and wary, circling each other like 2 prize boxers who have no intention of starting the fight. In fact, a full-throttle punch-up might have done us both good. We had managed to drift into that awful arena, so familiar to the long-term married couple, where what was left unspoken was actually more damaging than what was said. We weren't married, by the way. Andreas had proposed to me doing the whole diamond ring down on one knee thing, but we had both been too busy to follow through. And anyway, my Greek wasn't good enough yet to understand the service. We had decided to wait. Time had done us no favours. In London, Andreas had always been my best friend. Perhaps it was because we weren't living together that I had always looked forward to seeing him. We read the same books, we loved eating in, especially when Andreas cooked. We had great sex. But Crete had trapped us in an altogether different sort of arrangement, and even though it had only been a couple of years since we had left the UK, I was already thinking about a way out, even if I wasn't actively looking for one. I didn't need to. The way out arrived early one Monday morning with a smart-looking couple, obviously English, walking arm in arm down the slope that led from the main road. I could tell at once that they were rich and that they weren't here on holiday. He was wearing a jacket and long trousers, ridiculous for the morning heat, a polo shirt and a Panama...